1955. The Martins, a tableau of perfect happiness. 30 years etched into their union, a bond that seemed unbreakable. Their eldest daughter, just of age, glowed with the promise of a bright future, her engagement a testament to her family's good fortune. This was a bourgeois bliss, a monument to social success. Mr. Martin, a man who had scaled every rung of the corporate ladder, from a modest bank clerk to a towering figure of influence. Their home, a charming sanctuary nestled within a sprawling provincial city. In short, as our story unfurls in the spring of 1955, the Martins are happy. And yet, you must understand, a chilling undercurrent stirs beneath this placid surface. For this is no ordinary tale, and the Martins' happiness, you see, is poised to shatter. Something is about to happen. Not the grim tragedy you might anticipate. No revolver shot echoing through the night. No poisoned chalice offered with a false smile. No daughter's desperate act against disapproving parents. What looms is far simpler, yet infinitely more terrifying. A triviality so commonplace it could infest any family, even one that, like the Martins, had projected an image of flawless contentment for 3 decades. A city like any other, its name need not be whispered. What transpired within its walls could have unfurled anywhere. It was a place of pretty houses, one of which sheltered the Martin family. Charles Martin, the patriarch, a man in his 50s, carried the quiet pride of self-made success. At 20, he was little more than a bank's anonymous cog. Françoise had married him in the 1930s, not for Dane, but for love, a pure and rare commodity. Charles, tenacious and unyielding, carved his path. His punctuality, his scrupulous honesty, coupled with an innate dynamism and fierce sense of responsibility, quickly caught the eye of his superiors. He ascended, rung by painstaking rung, soon overseeing men whose diplomas far outshone his own. But Charles Martin needed no parchment. He possessed something far more precious: absolute trust. The trusted man. Each day, as a cashier wielding power of attorney, he controlled over 20 million current francs. Yes, over 2 billion old francs. These immense sums, untouched by directorial oversight, rested solely in his hands. This model employee was so cherished that for months his own daughter, Sylvie, had worked by his side in the very same bank. It was she who stepped into his formidable shoes during his absences, managing the daily 2 billion. Even Sylvie's fiancé, Henri, was an employee there. It was within those hallowed walls they met. Harmony reigned. The engagement to this promising young man, poised to perhaps become the next trusted man, delighted everyone. The wedding date, set for June 1955, loomed. It was now March. Young Henri, almost a son already, often graced the Martin home. Madame Martin's kitchen pulsed with the aroma of his favorite dishes. Charles, meanwhile, discoursed on the intricate world of finance, Henri a rapt and attentive student, absorbing the wisdom of his future father-in-law. A brilliant career for Henri seemed assured. Then, one April day, bathed in the tender light of spring, a seemingly insignificant tremor disturbed the perfect facade, a simple smile. Jocelyne, Mr. Martin's senior secretary, offered it to his director. Nothing more than a ripple of good humor, a common occurrence. Yet until that moment, Charles Martin had only seen Jocelyne through the lens of work. But suddenly, inexplicably, his gaze lingered. He saw her youth, her beauty, the elegant lines of her form, the inviting curve of her smile. Other smiles would follow in days and weeks to come. This time, Charles Martin didn't just notice, he hoped for them. Then he subtly provoked them. A strange, intoxicating sensation blossomed within him, a feeling of renewal. Imperceptibly, without truly knowing why,
Charles Martin began to transform. He shed his strict, dark suits and ties, gravitating toward shirt makers and tailors, embracing fashionable cuts and vibrant hues. What could be more natural, at 50, than to chase a vestige of youth? Madame Martin was thrilled. For years, she had implored him to care for his appearance, to dress with the dignity his position commanded. Now he did so willingly, even joyfully. He seemed lighter, gayer, humming melodies, exchanging jests, rejuvenated. A charming metamorphosis for everyone. At the office, Charles Martin's newfound effervescence was even more pronounced, especially with Jocelyn. Jokes, witty exchanges, always respectful. Jocelyn found this important gentleman, the boss's trusted confidant, surprisingly kind, and her laughter echoed heartily. Returning home, Mr. Martin spoke of his work, as he always did, but lately his conversations centered predominantly on his secretary. Oh, a gem, perfection itself. He would champion her career. She deserved greatness. Madame Martin felt a faint flicker of annoyance, but surely appreciating an employee was harmless, even if he spoke of her a little too much. Besides, Madame Martin was supremely confident in her husband's fidelity, a truth she had known for 30 years. And the girl was only 19. No, none of this was serious. None of this would last. And yet it did last. Something violent, unpredictable, had seized Charles Martin, like an insidious malady, and perhaps it was indeed a sickness we speak of. A mysterious ailment, afflicting men between 50 and 60, particularly those whose private lives had been beyond reproach. An affliction known as the démon de midi, the midlife crisis. 50 years, you see, is a precipice. Children preparing to marry, the looming specter of an empty nest, alone again, like at 20, but no longer 20. Love's mysteries, the thrill of attraction, the desire to please, these had faded imperceptibly with youth itself. Then, suddenly, against one's will, a stark reckoning. A balance sheet of 30 years shared, of habits, anniversaries, unwavering fidelity. One must accept, prepare to age gracefully until the end. And that's when it arrives, unexpectedly, miraculously. A young, fresh, pure smile, meant just for you. One examines oneself anew. Perhaps the gray hair held a certain allure. That nascent virility a forgotten charm? To charm, to seduce, words whose meaning had all but vanished from his lexicon. It was an irresistible surge, a breath from the deepest wellspring of nature, the raw instinct to live. From that moment, all was lost. He was ready for anything, to be ridiculous, grotesque, to court his own misery and that of others. What did it matter, as long as he savored life one last time, with a rare, desperate intensity? Jocelyn, if I dared, I would ask your opinion on my new tie. I like it very much, sir. These bright colors, they make you look younger. Such banalities, such trivialities now flowed between Charles Martin and his secretary. But for him, these were revelations, marvelous and brand new. He was 20. No, 13. He felt the thrill of first love, a schoolboy's infatuation, a mad passion. Yes, mad. He had cast off reason, habits, constraints, respectability, reality. He lived a dream. Returning home, Mr. Martin hummed in his car. He was utterly transformed, even his driving,
Overtaking all others, even running red lights, offering small mocking gestures to bewildered police officers. What did it matter? Jocelyn found his tie made him look younger. Tomorrow he would buy others, and then a sports car. He had the means, after all. Mr. Martin hummed, speeding. Jocelyn found him rejuvenated. At home, the climate shifted. His reflections, the too frequent confidences about Jocelyn, his newfound vanity, the countless minutes before his mirror, the inexplicable smiles, the long, blissful reveries that seized him mid-sentence, all these created an awkwardness.
then a creeping discomfort. It wasn't Madame Martin who noticed first. Perhaps she had chosen to close her eyes, a dark premonition guiding her silence. It was Sylvie, her daughter. Perhaps more jealous than her mother, more possessive of her father. Young, uncompromising, unwilling to share him with a girl her own age. But there was a simpler truth to Sylvie's anguish. She worked at the bank alongside her father. She saw him, daily, making a spectacle of himself, playing this ridiculous charade with Jocelyn. She overheard the whispers, the knowing comments from other employees. And Henri, her fiancé, also worked there. What would he say if he truly noticed? Sylvie felt a profound hurt, a betrayal of her love for her father, and a burning shame for herself and Henri. One evening, it erupted. All three sat together, Mr. and Mrs. Martin and Sylvie. Sylvie had asked a trivial question, but as often happened these past weeks, her father remained lost in his dream, his inner smile serene. "Dad, I asked you a question." "Yes, you're right. Forgive me, Sylvie." "We don't forgive you. My questions don't interest you. Only what Jocelyn says interests you. Oh, tell me, did she happen to say your new tie made you look younger? It's awful, your tie. You dress like a young boy. At your age, you're ridiculous, Dad. This girl makes you ridiculous. I'm ashamed of you." Sylvie burst into sobs, fleeing the room. From that moment, something fractured within the Martin family. Scene followed scene. Madame Martin wept, Sylvie screamed. Henri, when present, shrank into himself. Mr. Martin, for his part, retreated into a stubborn silence, adopting the air of a martyr. "But you understand nothing. What's happening between us no one can understand. Jocelyn is a wonderful girl." No, they could understand nothing. Mr. Martin smiled again, even as Sylvie's fury raged. Everything between them is so pure, so innocent, so simple. Later, Mr. Martin returned home with a gleaming sports car. Sylvie exploded, Henri a silent witness. She threatened her father, threatened to go to the bank manager, to tell him everything she thought. Charles Martin's face blanched. "Ah, so that's how it is. Ah, so that's how it is. Well, we'll see. We'll see indeed." And what Mr. Martin set in motion then was so calculated, so meticulous, so utterly ruthless, it defies belief. The next day, a Friday, after dictating his correspondence, Mr. Martin approached his secretary. He was about to shock her. "Listen, Jocelyn, friends with a villa on the Côte d'Azur have loaned it to me for the weekend. I thought perhaps we could go together, in all honor, of course." Jocelyn didn't hesitate long. She trusted Mr. Martin. Besides, at 19, she was not easily intimidated, confident in her ability to protect herself. And the prospect of a luxurious weekend on the Côte d'Azur was undeniably appealing. Deep down, she rather liked Mr. Martin, even with his absurd, youthful ties. That Friday evening, Mr. Martin and Jocelyn departed for the Côte d'Azur in the sleek, brand-new sports car. You might imagine this to be the revenge of the spurned wife, the tragically wronged daughter. Oh no, it was far more extraordinary, far more Machiavellian. Before leaving, before carefully locking his office, as he did every evening, Mr. Martin did something. He stole. Yes, he who for nearly 20 years had held 2 billion old francs in his hands daily, he who enjoyed the complete, blind trust of the chairman, he stole. He stole precisely 100 million old francs. But why this specific sum? He could have taken 1 billion, 2 billion. Quite simply, Mr. Martin had done his calculations. He had meticulously assessed his fortune. These 100 million represented the exact totality of his assets, including his house and his various shares. This 100 million he would not spend with Jocelyn. No, Charles Martin was not a common thief. He would burn it. Yes, burn it, because what he truly desired was his own arrest, to be forced to reimburse, to be utterly ruined. Or rather, his family would be ruined. His wife, Sylvie, his future son-in-law, would be left penniless. But that was not all. Mr. Martin's revenge was infinitely more refined. He had peered into the abyss. The next day was Saturday. The bank offices would open, and on that day his daughter Sylvie would replace him at his post. Tomorrow, Sylvie, upon opening the cash register he had locked, would discover the theft of 100 million. She would then face an unbearable, inhumane choice. Either she fulfilled her duty and denounced a theft that could only have been committed by her father, or, to protect him, she remained silent and became an accomplice herself. Yes, that was Charles Martin's revenge. He would ruin his family, dishonor them, and force his daughter either to expose her father as a thief or become one herself. 200 bundles of 10 500-franc notes spiraled into smoke within the fireplace of a Côte d'Azur villa while Jocelyn was out shopping. Mr. Martin, like a madman, watched them burn, laughing. It serves them right. It serves them right. Ah, they wanted to stop him from living his life. Well, they failed. They stopped nothing at all, and he ruined them all. This weekend was the apotheosis of his life. He had given his existence meaning. He would not grow old in mediocrity with his wife and his slippers. That's it. It's over. There's nothing left but to descend. Everything has gone up in flames. And then came the next morning. The fever, the intoxication had vanished. Mr. Martin understood the enormity of the disaster. No, it was not a nightmare. Suddenly, reason clawed its way back, and with it, the full, crushing consciousness of his act. He had destroyed everything. Years of tireless work, an entire life, shattered. Jocelyn, sleeping beside him, a wave of disgust. He choked with rage, with despair. He thought of his wife, of his daughter, perhaps already arrested as a thief. At full speed, in the sports car, Mr. Martin raced home. Jocelyn, bewildered, speechless, understood nothing. Charles Martin dared not enter his own house. He rushed to the police station. You can imagine the officer's astonishment when he declared, "I am a wretch. I stole 100 million from the bank where I work, but I didn't do it to steal. 100 million is all I possess. Everything must be sold. The bank will be reimbursed. I did it to ruin my family." Ultimately, what truly astonished the police was the motive, for the theft itself was already known. Sylvie, with a broken heart, had resigned herself to informing the boss, to denouncing her father. Before the investigating judge, dramatic confrontations unfurled. Completely collapsed, Charles Martin faced his former boss. He implored forgiveness, weeping, swearing he could reimburse, that the totality of his assets matched the stolen sum. Before his wife and daughter, the scenes were even more harrowing. The wretched man collapsed, clinging to their feet, screaming his remorse, his utter powerlessness to repair the damage. And in an act of profound, gut-wrenching forgiveness, the wife and daughter embraced him. They flung themselves into Charles' arms, and all three wept bitterly together for their shattered lives. The trial followed swiftly. All the Martins' assets had been sold, covering the stolen sum precisely. Yet the jurors refused to believe the accused's stated motives. Charles Martin was sentenced to the maximum penalty, 5 years of hard prison, and to crown the bitter irony of this utterly lamentable story, Jocelyn produced a certificate in court attesting to her virginity. When he emerged from prison, Charles Martin found his wife living miserably in a tiny studio in a poor neighborhood, cleaning houses to survive. Charles secured a small accounting job, carefully devoid of any cash handling. Sylvie and Henry, now married, visited them occasionally. The Martin family had returned to a life of quiet destitution. attempting to act as if nothing had happened, as if no demon had ever knocked at their door. Alas, there was nothing else to do.